Have you ever heard the saying, "The sun never sets on the British Empire"? For a time, that wasn't just a saying, it was a reality. Imagine an empire so vast that at any given moment, somewhere on Earth, the sun was shining on its territories. From the frosty lands of Canada to the vibrant landscapes of India, and all the way to the shores of Australia, Britain's influence stretched across the globe. But how did a small island nation achieve such unprecedented power? And what became of this colossal empire? Today, we're re-embarking on a journey through time to uncover the epic story of the rise and fall of the British Empire. Our story begins in the late 16th century, a time of great exploration. While Spain and Portugal were already building vast empires in the Americas, England was just starting to dip its toes into the water. Early voyages, led by adventurers like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh, were a mix of exploration, trade, and a fair bit of piracy. The first real attempts at colonization were fraught with hardship. The famous lost colony of Roanoke in North America is a grim reminder of these early struggles. But England was persistent. In 1607, Jamestown was established in Virginia, marking the first permanent English settlement in the Americas. This was the tiny seed from which a mighty empire would grow. Over the next century, more colonies sprung up along the North American coast, driven by people seeking religious freedom, economic opportunity, or a new start. At the same time, in the Caribbean islands like Barbados and Jamaica became incredibly profitable. Thanks to the sugar trade of sweetness built on the bitter foundation of the transatlantic slave trade, a dark and brutal chapter in the empire's history, these early colonies in the New World were the foundation, the first building blocks of what would become a global enterprise. The 18th and 19th centuries were when the British Empire truly went global. The key to this expansion? Naval power. The Royal Navy dominated the seas, protecting trade routes and projecting British power across the world. After the 7 Years' War, Britain emerged as the world's leading colonial power, gaining vast territories in North America and securing a foothold in India through the British East India Company. While the loss of the American colonies in 1783 was a major setback, the empire simply shifted its focus. Captain James Cook's voyages to the Pacific opened up Australia and New Zealand for colonization. In Asia, the influence of the East India Company grew until the British government took direct control of India in 1858, making it the jewel in the crown of the empire. The scramble for Africa in the late 19th century saw Britain claim huge swaths of the continent, from Egypt in the north to South Africa. By the dawn of the 20th century, the British Empire governed nearly a quarter of the world's population and a quarter of its landmass. It was a complex network of colonies, dominions, and protectorates, all connected by trade, technology like the telegraph, and the English language, administered by a relatively small number of officials who believed they were on a civilizing mission. But empires, no matter how powerful, are not eternal. The seeds of decline were sown even at the height of Britain's power. Across the globe, calls for self-determination and independence grew louder. In India, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi pioneered non-violent resistance, inspiring millions and challenging the moral authority of British rule. Then came the World Wars. Britain and its empire fought and won, but at a tremendous cost. The economic and human toll of two global conflicts drained Britain's resources and shattered the illusion of its invincibility. The Second World War, in particular, accelerated the process of decolonization. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the new superpowers, both ideologically opposed to old-style European colonialism. Britain, weakened and in debt, could no longer afford to maintain its vast empire against the rising tide of nationalism. The independence of India and Pakistan in 1947 was a watershed moment. It triggered a domino effect. Over the next 2 decades, one by one, colonies across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean gained their independence. The winds of change, as Prime Minister Harold Macmillan called them, were blowing across the world, and the age of empire was coming to an end. The process wasn't always peaceful. Many struggles for independence were marked by conflict and unrest. But by the late 20th century, the vast empire had been dismantled, replaced by the Commonwealth of Nations, a voluntary association of independent states. So what is the legacy of the British Empire? It's a question that sparks intense debate to this day, and the answer is incredibly complex. There is no simple black and white verdict. On one hand, the empire left behind systems of law, government, and education in many parts of the world. It spread the English language, which has become a global lingua franca. It built infrastructure, like railways and telegraph lines that connected vast regions. However, this legacy is deeply shadowed by the negative aspects. The empire was built on conquest, exploitation, and often brutal violence. It drew arbitrary borders that have led to lasting conflicts, exploited natural resources for its own enrichment, and enforced racial hierarchies. The economic systems it established were designed to benefit Britain, often at the expense of the colonies, creating patterns of inequality that persist today. The legacy is a tapestry woven with threads of progress and oppression, connection and division, development and exploitation. Understanding the British Empire isn't about choosing a side, it's about acknowledging all its complexities. It's about recognizing how its history continues to shape our modern world, from the languages we speak and the sports we play, to the political borders on our maps and the global economic systems we live in. The story of the British Empire is a crucial part of our shared global history, a powerful reminder of how the past continues to echo in the present. The rise of the British Empire is one of the most fascinating transformations in human history. From a relatively small island nation, Britain built a global empire that shaped trade, politics, language, and culture across continents. But history also teaches us something important. No empire lasts forever. The same forces that help empires rise, competition, expansion, and global influence can eventually lead to their decline. The story of the British Empire is not just about the past. It's also a lesson about power, strategy, and how the world changes over time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Historomystic for more powerful stories that reveal the hidden forces shaping our world. And before you go, I want to ask you something. If you had to pick the single biggest reason for the rise of the British Empire, naval dominance, economic power, or strategic alliances, what would it be? Let me know in the comments. I read them all. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the rise and fall of the British Empire. If you found this interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what you think the most significant legacy of the empire is. See you in the next video.